India's opposition Congress party is demanding the government roll back a new scheme to recruit soldiers into the armed forces. Congress workers staged sit-ins across various locations in protest at what they say is a move that jeopardizes national security and the future of young people. On the 14th of June, the government had announced the so-called Agnipath, or Path of Fire scheme, which seeks to recruit soldiers, sailors and airmen into the armed forces for just a 4-year tenure. The announcement 2 weeks back was met with violent protests across the country. Disgruntled young people torched trains, vehicles and attacked property. This was particularly acute in the northern states of Bihar, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh, where soldiering is a popular career choice. Many were angry at losing the opportunity at a long-term stable career from which they can retire with health and other benefits. This is what some protesters had to say.
It's been 2 years since the Army organized the recruitment rally in March 2020. Then exams were to be held on May 30th. They've been postponed 9 times, and now we're being told they've been cancelled because of the new scheme. Why are they implementing this? What will we do after 4 years of service? Those who are medically and physically fit should be examined again, and the old way of recruitment should be restarted. We completely object to this new form of recruitment.
Now, the anger there is that this scheme replaces the earlier one, which guaranteed long-term employment with pension benefits. On the other hand, the armed forces say this new recruitment method is the only way to guarantee a younger, leaner force. Young people between 17 and a half and 21 years can apply, though for this year, the upper age limit has been increased to 23 years as a one-time exception. So overall, this is what applicants are looking at. They will be selected to serve 4 years in the armed forces. Only a quarter of them will be retained at the end of that tenure for continued service. The rest will have to make their way back into civilian life without the benefits that career soldiers enjoy. And the armed forces are also promising those leaving the services will leave with significant savings and will be given preference for recruitment in other federal jobs. The government has been closely monitoring the opposition to the scheme. DW's Manira Chaudhary sent us this update as authorities quickly broke up today's sit-in in Delhi.
The Agnipath scheme introduced by the Indian government continues to be in the eye of the storm. I am in Delhi right now, and what you see behind me is a Delhi police vehicle taking away members of the opposition party, the Indian National Congress, which had organized a protest against the scheme. The scheme, which offers most of the military recruits a tenure of 4 years, leaving them without pension benefits. Only 25% of the recruits are supposed to be retained for regular service. When the scheme was announced, it caused nationwide protests. It caused protests across the states. A lot of angry youngsters came out on the roads to protest against it. The two major reasons being job security and being left out of pension benefits that usually military personnel get for lifelong. Now, while the opposition party says the scheme will harm the security of the country and will jeopardize the future of the youth, the government says that the scheme will be beneficial in bringing down the average age of the military personnel and also will allow the budget for more modernization of the military.
And joining me now for more is Praveen Sani, a former army officer and currently editor of Force magazine, a publication that reports on India's defense and strategic issues. Praveen, the army says Agnipath is the only way to cut its ballooning salaries and pensions bill. Is it?
Yes, well, as of now, this is the only way of doing it because what has happened is that this Modi government, when they came to power, they cleared what is called the one rank, one pension. Consequent to that, the pension bill has shot up and it will keep ballooning. The pension bill, the retired officers. Along with that, then there are service officers also who have to be paid the salary. The long and short is, army, which takes the lion's share of the defense budget, today it is not left with any money at all for modernization. So Agnipath is the only way, because Agnipath they need for peacetime activities on the line of actual control with China, and they simply do not have the money to recruit the regular soldiers who will be given the pensions.
Right. The other argument is, of course, that the army needs younger soldiers to make it an efficient fighting force. How does retiring soldiers every 4 years achieve this?
See, here there is a problem because the army needs to understand our key adversary, which is the PLA, People's Liberation Army. Honestly, what we need is skilled soldiers, perhaps technically qualified soldiers who can adjust to the changed character of war. How the war is to be fought has completely changed. So this argument I do not take. This is complete nonsense that they want the younger profile. They just want the younger profile in peacetime to sit on the huge line of actual control that we have with China to ensure that the PLA does not do another April 2022,
Right.
which they had done earlier. So it will be impossible to throw them out.
This is what the army wants, but what is the benefit there for the young applicants? I mean, we saw all these violent protests in a lot of northern states in India. What is it that young people are getting out of it?
They are getting nothing out of it. The scheme needs to be completely scrapped because this will militarize the society. It is weakening the army itself, its ethos and its performance, because now we will have two type of armies. We will have in a unit one army which is through the regular route. There's another army which is Agniveer. So the ethos will also be affected. So the only benefit that they get is to maintain the image of the Prime Minister as the only Prime Minister who's been able uh, to hold the two active line of controls, two active military lines, one against Pakistan and China. And otherwise, the army gets nothing out of it. And this is a disaster, this whole scheme.
You speak of the Prime Minister. I mean, the country under him is facing its highest unemployment rates in about 40 years. Is this a short-term job creation scheme?
No, it isn't. It's basically what this does is that in peacetime, we are worried the military line that we have with China is very long. So it needs to be guarded in peacetime so that they don't do another intrusion, and hence it will become very difficult for the Indian military to throw them out because we don't have the capability for that. We do not want war. China also does not want war. The only problem is the peacetime activity. We need more and more manpower just to sit there at heights of 15,000 to 18,000 to guard against intrusions by the PLA.